and a very warm welcome to Northampton Cathedral. In the past week or so, we've heard that Pope Francis has proclaimed the coming year as a year of St. Joseph. And this provides us with a wonderful opportunity to reflect on the figure of St. Joseph. I think St. Joseph is in some ways quite an enigmatic figure. For someone who played such an important role in the life of Jesus, indeed who played such an important role in God's salvific plan, we know surprisingly little about him. He doesn't have any speaking parts in any of the Gospels, and all we have is a description of him as a just man. I often think it must have been a bit overwhelming for Joseph as he grew to realize who he was called to be and that vocation that he was fulfilling. I mean, imagine coming down each morning to have breakfast with the Incarnation and the Immaculate Conception. It must have been a bit overwhelming at times. And so I think St. Joseph is a great inspiration for us because he is surrounded by this kind of shroud of silence, but it's not a sullen silence. It's a very prayerful silence, and it speaks to us of his deep interiority. And it was precisely that silence and that docility to the will of the Lord which enabled him to fulfill his very unique and particular vocation. The Gospels tell us that the birth of Jesus was overshadowed by the violence and the arrogance and the jealousy of King Herod, who sought to crush the Christ child. And it was St. Joseph who was entrusted by God to be the protector and the guardian of both the infant Jesus and the Virgin Mary. I imagine that Joseph had no idea what he was getting himself into as he grew to know and love the Virgin Mary. But he was open to following the Lord's will, and he cherished and protected the Christ child. What a wonderful inspiration for us this Advent, as we are called to nurture and cherish Christ in our own hearts and to await for his second coming. Pope Francis reflected as he was proclaiming the year of St. Joseph that the pandemic has taught him that it's precisely those who work quietly and in an unassuming way who can do so much for the good of the world. Healthcare workers, those who work in supermarkets, priests, those who carry on with their jobs, those who we so often take for granted. St. Joseph is something of a patron for those who work quietly and in an unassuming way to fulfill the will of the Lord. And so let us look to St. Joseph as a shining example of we who, even in our own quiet and unassuming way, can fulfill the Lord's plan. Because like St. Joseph, he is calling us to something much greater than we could ever possibly imagine.